2025 Anambra State Governorship election, the National Working Committee, NWC, of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, has called on President Bola Tinubu to ensure a free and fair electoral process in the state. Speaking in Abuja during the presentation of certificates of return and party flag to the ADC's governorship candidate, John Chuma Nwosu, the national chairman of the party, Chief Ralph Nwosu, appealed to President Bola Tinubu to uphold democratic principles and allow the people's will to prevail. He further urged the president to preserve the independence of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and support local businesses, warning that ongoing political manipulation of the monetary policies is harmful to both the economy and democracy. Special Advisor, Media and Information Strategy to President Bola Tinubu, Bayo Ononuga, says Nigerians will soon experience a reduction in the cost of living. As the effect of the administration's economic reforms start to materialize, speaking to Newsbend in Lagos, Ononuga stated that the positive effect of Tinubu's policies will soon be felt across all segments of national development. Ononuga highlighted that the president has not only introduced progressive reforms, but also tackled challenges that previous administrations avoided. Over now to the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, has lauded President Ahmed Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, stating that it is already delivering tangible results across key sectors of the country. Kalu made the declaration during the inauguration of over 20,000 members of the Renewed Hope Partners in Bende local government area of Abia State. The event also witnessed the defection of numerous young Progressive Party members to the All Progressive Congress, APC. Speaking at the event, Kalu emphasized that the Renewed Hope agenda is not just a slogan, but a comprehensive blueprint for Nigerians' progress, citing achievements in economic growth, inflation, control infrastructure, and national inclusion. So the All Progressive Congress, APC, has dismissed the allegations by former Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Suleiman Dalong, alleging that a powerful cabal has taken over President Bola Tinubu's government. The National Secretary of the APC, Ajibola Basiru, criticized Dalong's credibility and his performance as a former minister. Dalong, in an interview, stated that he foresaw the development even before Tinubu's inauguration on May 29, 2023. Saudi authorities says it has prevented more than 269,000 individuals without official permits from entering Mecca ahead of this year's Hajj pilgrimage. The move comes as part of a border effect to control overcrowding and ensure safety during the annual Islamic ritual. The Interior Minister stated that the measure targets both foreign nationals and Saudi residentials attempting to perform Hajj without authorization. The National Association of Polytechnic Students have called for the legislative upgrade of polytechnics to degree-awarding institutions. In a statement signed by its president, Comrade Eshifoni Ohanyi, the association said the upgrade will resolve the lingering dichotomy between higher national diploma and Bachelor of Science holders. The students further proposed a students' insurance scheme, mental health awareness campaign, and improved campus security measures as part of policy advocacy. The Federal High Court chapter of the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSU, has locked out judges, lawyers, staff, and litigants from assessing the court following the indefinite strike declared by its national body. Judge, staff, lawyers yesterday and members of the public report that they were denied access as business activities in and around the court were paralyzed as the High Court headquarters located along Shehu Shagari in Abuja reveals that all the entrance gates into the high-rise building were under lock. The Judiciary National Body on May 30th in a circular by its acting National Secretary MJ asked all its chapter chairman to be effective from midnight Sunday, June 1st, all through yesterday, and all its members to stay at home. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency has predicted thunderstorms and rains from Monday through Wednesday across the country. 9 Minutes Weather Outlook released in Abuja envisage morning thunderstorms on Monday with rains over parts of Taraba, Kaduna, Gombe, Bauchi, Kebbi, Sokoto, Katsina, Jigawa, and Kano State in the northern region. The agency further stated that there are prospects of thunderstorms with rains over parts of Taraba, Kaduna State, and Zamfara State later in the day. You are watching the live broadcast of AM News. When AM News returns, federal government's gas-powered vehicle scheme runs into major hitch nationwide. Details coming shortly, plus foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is AM News on Global Television. Over now to Portuguese giants Benfica are the latest club to be linked with KRC Greek striker Tolu Akeredare. Akeredare has been linked with top clubs in Germany, France, and Premier League following a stellar campaign for Genk. The forward scored 21 goals to finish top scorer in Beijing in 2024-25 season. And we bring you to the end of the AM News, but let's quickly take a recap of our top stories again. We brought to you that the federal government has declared Friday, June 6th and Monday, June 9th, 2025 as public holidays to mark this year's Eid al-Adha celebration. And in business, ahead of Salah celebration, the prices of staple food items and other household commodities have gone up. And on the foreigns in Russia today, offered Ukraine a partial 2-3-day ceasefire, and both will exchange 6,000 dead soldiers each. Russia had rejected an unconditional ceasefire. And finally, in sports, Manchester City have announced that Metro Kavasi has undergone surgery on an Achilles injury and will miss the FIFA club worldwide. Well, that's it on AM News. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. And kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using @Global TV NG. You can download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Global Morning continues shortly. Stay tuned. Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road.
Our planet is changing and the clock is ticking. But amidst this crisis, there is hope, innovation, and resilience. Join me each week. The environment which you live is very much alive as I uncover the truths, the challenges, and the champions of our environment, because the future depends on what we do now.
They told you education is the key. They said, go to school. But why are so many graduates purposeless and jobless? On EduShift, we spot the cracks. We challenge the educational system. Torn between science, arts, and commerce, we bring clarity and answers to your questions, and we light up the path for a generation ready to stand out. Come enjoy discussions with educators, employers, and counselors. Let us fix this problem of career misalignment and help you discover yourself. EduShift, only on Global TV.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app.
Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure. If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from the
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled as a strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us here on Global Morning. First off, we apologize again for knocking the start a bit off schedule. Was on account of some technical glitches that were unforeseen, but now those have been addressed and the show is on the road, as they say. With the delights, I say my name is Uyag Mofwegwe and my colleague is also on the program.
Queen Agaba, it's always a pleasure here on Global Morning.
Great. Global Morning is being, if you like, it's evolving, all right? A few other elements been introduced, so is a new chapter opened right now, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's a new chapter, and it's beautiful to behold and unfold all of the many sides to Global Morning that we have interested for our viewers and their listening pleasure.
Well, what more can we say? It's a great day upon us already. It's Tuesday, second business day of the week. So again, for those of us who said by Sunday that we're not going to be, we're not so excited about Monday. It's already the second day into the week, and we hope you make the best of yours. But we already have started our day, and we hope you stay with us here on the program. Several things to talk about, even away from politics, for example, things that Nigerians are experiencing and witnessing on a day-to-day basis. Of course, we've talked about quite a number of issues, especially regarding the second year anniversary of not just President Bola Tinubu, but even of governors who were elected. I was almost going to say hired, but like it's a private employment, who were elected same time, which was in 2023. But we also need to realize that so much has happened the last few days in this country, things that make many citizens scratch their heads to ask if this is actually happening in 2025?
Yeah, exactly. Too many things, particularly the issue of one that I would point out, outside of the challenges, the already prevailing challenges that we have, which is insecurity, which is hardship, inflation, and we're still talking about electricity and the timing in 2025. One that would think that by 2025 would have gone past the issue of electricity. We're still talking about generators, we're talking about noise pollution and all of the emissions that that happen as a result of this environmental and noise pollution. But one that has been very critical and has been disturbing is the issue of insecurity, particularly in places in the FCT, places that you would assume that normally we should have gone past these reoccurring cases. Take for instance One Chance. It has spread across. We're talking about insecurities across states, particularly in the FCT. But recently I read in the news where I saw videos where in Enugu State a particular billionaire was paraded around his village. Apparently it's alleged that he buried a pregnant woman alive in his compound, and this particular billionaire is from Eziagu in Enugu State, Eziagu village in Enugu State. So there have been news around missing persons in their community, young children, people just go missing all of a sudden. But the one that broke the camel's back was the news about a pregnant woman, that was buried alive, that was found buried alive in his...
Again, that is still in the realms of allegation, right?
Allegations, yes. In his compound, but there were videos where the pit, so while they were looking for this person, there were videos where the pit was dug up in his compound. We saw that video where it was dug up and then several other bodies were buried in that pit. So the people, out of anger, set ablaze the compound, demolished his building, just set it ablaze, and started to parade him. These were the allegations. But aside of this, there were other stories around people who are prominent that we would expect some level of protection from these people rather than being the ones who victimize their people. These are allegations, however, but there have been increasing cases of people who we expect some level of protection from, who are maybe rulers, who are maybe chiefs, who are maybe and who somehow, some way parade themselves as philanthropists. These people are alleged to be giving out loads of cash, helping the needy and all of that. So when news breaks out like this, it's questioning. People begin to question, this sort of news. Is it not this person who has been, all good, all nice, and how can this sort of heinous acts be attributed to him and all of that? But in other news, what I'm trying to say is we need to be careful. But the question is, how careful can we be? How careful can you be enough, even within your vicinity? Gone are the days when we say, oh, this person was kidnapped or this person was butchered and murdered because of their wayward lifestyle. Now it could be a child who is just walking along the road. It could be a pregnant woman who is, people just fall vulnerable, and it's even saddening and sickening because it's within your community and people who you think would never do this to you that begin to perpetrate this crime. So how careful can we be? And how can we hold people accountable, safe security officials, the police, necessary agents? How accountable can we hold this person? So it just leaves that big question. And I think that we should have gone past this issue of kidnapping and killing to an extent in 2025.
I mean, spot on. Quite unfortunate that things like this still happen right on our very nose. And it's a bit more disturbing, all right, knowing that the people accusing you, the people leveling these weighty, I mean, very, very weighty allegations are even your people. Or people in your neighborhood, in your community. I mean, what more can we say? Let's take a quick break, everyone. When we return, we'll look at the big headlines for you across our national dailies. After that, Sharon Ajay is cooking something. We'll also let you in on that in a bit.
Many thanks for staying with us. Well, it's time for us to look at the front pages of our national dailies for you. What are the papers saying this morning? First off, we begin with the Punch newspaper. And right here we have the big story that says 2027. Wike's Tinubu endorsement sparks opposition firestorm. And then the writer says PDP big weeks, opposition parties split over minister stands. And we also have Bode George, Amechi camp, and others vow to fight Wike. So there's a whole lot going on as regards to 2027 election, factions, parties, and what have you. But above the big story, what we have here is presidency moves to settle 2 trillion power debt. And also, reps grill WAEC chiefs over exam disruptions. There's still talks about the WAEC disruptions, why there's mass failure, why students have to write WAEC at night in schools, and what have you, linking the JAMB examination and WAEC basically for SSCEs.
Right.
And then we also have judiciary workers strike grounds courts. You find that story on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. Right after that, we have federal government estimates 880 billion naira yearly for road maintenance. So it's estimated that about 880 billion naira is estimated for road maintenance yearly. I want to believe that it's estimated. I'm interested in knowing how, it's implemented into that maintenance of the road, if these estimates are just paper estimates or if they are actual presentations and maintenance is being carried out. Because of a truth, a lot of our roads are dilapidated for this amount of money to be put out for the maintenance. We also have IATA decries high airlines operating costs in Nigeria and others. That's on page 32 of the Punch newspaper. We have Boko Haram fueled by political elite to destabilize Tinubu, says Kalu. And we on the front page right there, 3 Nigerians bagged 15 years jail for fraud in India. Lastly, on the Punch newspaper, we have Lagos APC, Labour Party in turmoil as PDP eyes local government poll upset. Well, these are the stories we have on the front page of the Punch newspaper. We will now move to
the New Telegraph,
our next point of call.
All right, let's see what we have on the news at the New Telegraph. Quickly, we begin with the headlines above the name plates. All right, for you. First one here, it says Forex will keep refining non-resident BVN to meet broader remittance targets. That's credited to the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Alayemi Kado. FG seeks 25 billion naira investment for undersea gas pipeline to Europe. Quite massive and ambitious projects right there. And then we bring it down a little. We find a headline with a picture of former governor of Abia State, now a Senator Orji Kalu. It says Orji Kalu to Tinubu sacks on ministers, security chiefs. That's a party chief, advising the leader of the party, talking about the president, cites inefficiency, lack of impact on development. Interestingly, it's a family matter, they say. But they have something on Salah here, and that's your kicker. Federal government declares Friday, Monday public holidays. The writer tells us Hajj visas, 2,717 pilgrims miss out as NACON urges calm. Okay, what's more? APC to Atiku, El-Rufai others, don't expect Tinubu to eradicate poverty you couldn't for 24 years. That's headline has a picture of the national chairman of the ruling APC, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. And then Jusu strike, appeal courts, FHC, FCC High Court locked. You find those details on pages 2, 5, and 6 with a rider, no compliance in Supreme Court. And then the Star headline reads, "Nobody can uproot me from PDP. I'll lead Tinubu to victory in 2027. Wike," that sounds very bold, "declares himself an asset, says he made more sacrifices than his accusers. In PDP, won't allow those who want to kill the party have their way." I'll read up those details on page 2 of today's issue of the New Telegraph newspaper. And then lastly here, scores flee homes as headers murder 46 in fresh Benue attacks. That headline is accompanied by 2 riders. "Youths want troops withdrawn, community-based units restored to end militancy. Nigerian Air Force airstrikes kill 20 terrorists in Zamfara." All right, I will leave it right there so we can move on to the Nigerian Tribune for you. Queen Agaba has all the headlines from the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
On the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, big story says, "Weaponization of poverty. APC tackles Atiku, Amechi and El-Rufai, says trio united by desperation." And also silent on 8 years of Buhari administration. Above the nameplate, we have suspected headers kill 43 in Benue communities. The issue of killings in Benue have been, incessant and consistent for a while now. I hope that necessary actions will be taken. Ground rent. "I derive joy in stepping on toes of powerful people," says Wike. Nigerian Air Force airstrikes kill 20 terrorists in Zamfara. That's a welcome development right there. And also, courts short lawyers and litigants stranded as judiciary workers begin strike. North must support Southwest in 2027 to complete 8 years in power. This is attributed to Shehu Sani, and you find that story on page 16 of the Tribune, the Nigerian Tribune. Assault on Vice Principal, Ondo police arrest parents and 4 others. What more do we have? Aggrieved lawmakers ask WAEC registrar to resign over conduct of midnight examination. There have been questions around if such capital measures should be taken. There have been debates back and forth as to why students would have to write examinations at midnight. The writer says exam body blames outsourced printers for leaked English paper. Says papers were distributed by road nationwide. I really don't see any reason why. These are the things we talk about, the issues that we raise. It all stems from the little things as WAEC.
Right.
Because when we had the last election there were concerns around election materials, papers, ballot boxes getting to the venues late, people voting at midnight. But all of these issues that are happening, like the WAEC that we have now, I feel like they are a prototype, a microcosm of what happens on the big day elections in all sectors. Take for instance school, whether finance, whether just across board, whether in the police and all of that. Why do we have leaked papers? Why do we have papers distributed by road nationwide?
Who do we hold accountable?
Exactly. If we don't fix all of these things in all of these small sectors, we will continue to have bigger issues. Bigger issues like having to vote at midnight, people using torchlight lamps and candles to in 2024, in this century, in this time and age. So we need to hold people accountable. So the question of, should capital measures be taken? I think it should. Because prior to this time, I keep saying it, if we continue to do a particular thing again and again and we're expecting another result or a different result, this is foolishness. What have we learned from this right now? What have we learned from the mass failure during the JAMB examination that we had for students? What have we learned? How are we taking measures to ensure that there's never a repeat? Who are we holding accountable? What are our plans for the next forthcoming exam, to ensure that we don't have a recurrence like this? But what we do here is, these things happen, we wave it aside, we debate whether capital measures should be taken on the registrar and all of that, and we don't look forward. to what happens in the future, and we just let things slide. And again, we see a reoccurrence or a repeat. Maybe this time around, we say the vehicles that are conveying these materials got spoiled and all of that. So we should fix it whatever way possible and look forward to making the next examination better. I believe that the registrar and the people involved had ample time to prepare.
That's right.
To ensure that these students had materials, you know. And as regards the issue of JAMB, and there were schools that didn't have computers.
That's right.
People who were not literate. So we look at these measures and ensure that what happens to those students who are not exposed to computers, who don't even know how to use the computers. So would it be at their detriment? So let us look at these issues and try to see how we can ensure that, you know, we meet all ends. Well, these are the stories we have on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Our next point of call now will be the Nation newspaper. All right, let's wrap it up, everyone, on the Nation newspaper. This morning, we'll look at, first, of course, several pictures on the front page of the Nation newspaper today. But we take it up to top left on the front page. The kicker says, Wike might take on PDP 2027 elections at Mechi Fubara. Those interesting details await you on page 4 this morning. Police, CBN, Abuja's agency orders owe FCT ground rent, right? And then we have one here with a picture of immediate past governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasiru El-Rufai. Herdsmen killed 33 in Benue. Court fines El-Rufai 900 million naira for illegally detaining Kaju leaders. Mokwa flood death toll hits 200. Incidentally, in 2 days' time, it will be World Environment Day. And I was talking about this Mokwa issue in Niger State. Now, news is telling us this morning that death toll has hit 200. And most times they say, well, that's not closure, that's not finality, because NEMA and ancillary agencies are working around the clock to put a finger on the figure, while they're also trying very hard to provide succor, if you like, some sort of relief materials to those who have been impacted adversely by this flooding. But the World Environment Day gives us that opportunity to have conversations around what the real issues are. Just yesterday, for example, we were talking about off camera, the funding for ecology that state governors get, for example. At a point, I know some years ago, it was actually counter-funding sort of arrangement where the federal government brings a part of the money, then the state also brings its parts, just to fight off ecological problems, you know, gully erosion and issues around them. But today it has been accusation and counter-accusations amongst governors, incoming governors and outgoing governors on account of who stole what, who misappropriated what. We're never asking about what projects were done with those monies. So the question is, who was supposed to do what exactly? And why didn't they do it? Because whether you like it or not, these are man-made problems for the most part. 200 lives are gone from the records we have in front of us. Selfishness.
We're not talking about the economic impact of it, what has been lost. Of course, everybody is sending condolence messages to the governor of the state. But the question is, does that solve the problem? There's going to be another incident after that.
Again.
Months ago, we were talking about, Borno State, which was, again, to put it mildly, devastating. Now it has come closer to home, talking about Niger State, which is a neighboring state to the FCT. So we hope this is something we're able to deal with as quickly as possible. But we're running with time as much as we can. Just a while ago, we mentioned that Sharon Ajay was cooking something. But now time to let you in on taste and texture. Need I remind you, it's breakfast time.
Breakfast time. Hello and welcome to Taste and Texture. I am Sharon Ajay. Today we will be talking about pancakes. You know, perfect pancakes are easier to make than you think. Well, this pancake recipe I'm about sharing with you will produce thick, fluffy, and all-around delicious pancakes with just a few ingredients that are probably already in your kitchen. Well, for this delicacy, we would be needing flour. This homemade pancake recipe starts with an all-purpose flour. Baking powder. Baking powder, a leavener, is the secret to fluffy pancakes. Also, sugar. Just a tablespoon of white sugar is all you will need for softly sweet pancakes. Salt. A pinch of salt will enhance the overall flavor without making your pancakes taste salty. Milk and butter. Milk and butter add moisture and richness to the pancakes. Egg. A whole egg lends even more moisture. Plus, it helps bind the pancakes batter together. Now to the measure ingredient needed. We would need 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 3.5 teaspoons baking powder, 1 tablespoon white sugar, 1/4 teaspoon salt or more to taste, 1/4 cup of milk, and 3 tablespoons butter melted. Also, 1 large egg. Now, let's make it. Step 1. Sieve flour, baking powder, sugar, and salt together in a large bowl. Make a well in the center and add milk, melted butter, and egg. Mix until smooth. Step 2. Heat a lightly oiled griddle or pan over medium heat. Pour or scoop the batter into the griddle using approximately 1/4 cup of each pancake. Cook until bubble forms and the edges are dry, about 2 to 3 minutes. Flip and cook until browned on the other side. Repeat with remaining batter. Well, you might be wondering, when do you think it's the right time to flip your pancakes? Your pancake will tell you when it's ready to flip. Just wait until bubbles start to form on the top and the edges look a bit dry and set. This will usually take about 2 to 3 minutes on each side. Yeah, that's easy, right? Of course it is. Well, that's all for making pancakes. You might be wondering, what could be paired with pancakes to make it more yummy? Well, you might try pancakes, strawberry, and grapes. The strawberry and grapes will be like, added on top of the pancakes to make it a bit more yummy. Also, you could try your pancakes and any juice of your choice. It might be orange juice, pineapple juice, strawberry juice, watermelon juice, and of course we have lots of fruit, so you can make a juice out of any of them. We could also try pancakes, bacon, and eggs. Feels yummy already. Yes. Well, that's all for today on Taste and Texture. I am Sharon Ajay. Global Morning continues.
Oh, yummy. I'm salivating already. I absolutely love pancakes, particularly when it's well made. And what Sharon had just made for us is rich in vital nutrients. We saw milk. These days, people go extra, add whatever it is they want to add to their pancakes. Back in the days, we just have, eggs. That was basic things that we just use: eggs, pepper, and, what of it? Well, I have Odi in the building this morning. Odi, good morning.
Good morning, Queen.
Odi, have you had breakfast this morning?
I haven't, and then seeing this report from Sharon, I think I'm having an idea of what I'm going to have now. I think pancake it is this morning.
Pancake it is.
Yes.
How do you like your pancakes?
Just
because
natural.
I saw Sharon doing the extra. We had milk, we had honey, and all of that.
Sometimes the extras are good, and I would want a little bit of extras today as well.
Oh, extras. I am sure we have extras on sports. Well, I'm just going to leave you in the hands of Odi, who will bring us sports update.
And yes, definitely today is International Bikers Day, and as well, it has a whole lot of health benefits attached to it. And then globally, bikers are being celebrated, and people are being urged to go into cycling and all of that. So it's more interesting to always, cycle, because one, it has a whole lot of health benefits. It's just a pace that you take gradually, and again you just increase it, and then it's just so health beneficial to individuals who cycle. So for those that don't really like maybe football, track and field because of boxing and the rest of it, maybe because of it's so exhausting, but cycling is something that individuals can just, get into and get yourself a bicycle and just try it once in a while. It's really, really, fun to cycle. And away from cycling totally, we'll be looking at today, later in the day, the Super Falcons will be taking on the Indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon in a clash, as they'll be getting themselves ready ahead of future competitions and qualifying games that will be coming up a little bit in the year. That's talking about the month of September, August and September. So we'll be looking at all of those, and also in the transfer windows, the Champions League finals are over, and then the transfer windows are fully open, and a whole lot of things are actually going on now, where we're seeing Liverpool, Arsenal, PSG, Chelsea, Barcelona, and also Al Hilal trying to get the signature of our very own Victor Osimhen, and his release clause is actually £70 million as we speak currently, and he is currently on loan with Napoli, and rather from Napoli to Galatasaray in the Turkish league, and he has been very crucial and very, very amazing for the team in terms of helping the team win their championship and also becoming the highest goal scorer in that league. So that's how it has been for Victor Osimhen, and a whole lot of teams are actually trying to get his signature. But now, are you willing to pay the money? Yes, the Saudi Arabian guys, I know, would want to pay the money without a glitch, but would he feature in UEFA Champions League? That is another concerning part that him and his team will need to look at. So we'll be looking at more angles as the story develops in terms of transfers, and also, like I rightly mentioned earlier, later in the month, we would be starting the Abuja City League basketball playoffs. So we'll be kick-starting, and then it's going to drag all through the month. And then also the Tigresses will be having a unity match being played at Mo Arena still in this month of March, and the NBA finals is around the corner, where you see Indiana Pacers take on OKC Thunders in a game, in the best of Game 7 series in the NBA finals. So all of this and more will be happening in this month of June, and it's super, super exciting. So Queen, do you like cycling?
I love cycling. I remember when growing up, I used to love to cycle. I used to ride a bicycle. But for some reason, I don't know why I stopped, but I'm sure that if you give me a bicycle, I would do exploits. I think that's the word. I used to stand on the bicycles and then just ride and enjoy myself. But it's interesting to know that all of this will be happening in the month of June. Yes. And we look forward to all of these activities. Yes. Well, we'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll bring you business updates from Kike Lomokere. Please stay with us.
Hello and welcome to Business Segment on Global Morning. I am Kike Lomokere. The Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment has announced the relaunch of the National Talent Export Program, an initiative led by the Minister, Dr. Duwole. The renewed program is designed to tap into $1 trillion global outsourcing industry by positioning Nigerian youth as a world-class talent pool for digital and professional services. She says, in alignment with President Tinubu's 8-point agenda, NATEP is designed to empower Nigerian youth, enhance global services, export opportunities, and drive inclusive economic transformation. The average retail price for refilling a 5 kg cylinder of liquefied petroleum gas rose by 7.69% month-on-month increase from 7,322.49 naira in March 2025 to 7,885.60 naira in April 2025. Similarly, the average retail price of refilling 12.5 kg cylinder increased by 9.82%, rising from 18,456.24 naira in March 2025 to 20,265.0 naira in April 2025. These figures were disclosed in a latest report released by National Bureau of Statistics titled Liquefied Petroleum Gas Price Watch. The Ghanaian cedi has surged nearly 50% against the US dollar in 2025, outperforming all global currencies. Price action shows the cedi began the year near 15 cedi to a dollar level and now trade close to 10 cedi to a dollar resistance line. Investors are encouraged by the currency rapid appreciation as the leading gold producers work to recover from its economic crisis and debt default. Despite tough microeconomic conditions, 10 commercial banks listed on Nigerian economic recorded a total of 3.77 trillion naira in loan impairment charges spanning full year 2023, full year 2024 and the first quarter of 2025. The charge amounted to 1.34 trillion naira in 2023, increased significantly to 2.13 trillion naira in 2024 and stood at 297.10 billion naira in just the first 3 months of 2025. Much of the spike in bad loan can be attributed to Nigerian microeconomic volatility. To Nigerian microeconomic volatility, particularly the sharp devaluation of Nigeria in mid-2023, soaring inflation and higher interest rates, of all which squeeze corporate margin, cut into household income and raise the cost of service debts. That's it on business segment on Global Morning. Up next is Social Buzz. I am Kike Lomo Okeri. Have a great day.
Behind the mask of deceit lies a world of darkness where shadows hide the truth and justice is the only light. Good morning and welcome to Social Buzz and Global Morning. I am Ogochukwu Mobno. Today on Social Buzz, the Delta State Police Command has arrested a 49-year-old woman, Joy Temitokbe, for allegedly stealing a 2-month-old baby in the Koko area of the state. The spokesperson of the state disclosed this on Monday, June 2nd, said the suspect lured and deceived a 20-year-old mother before allegedly drugging her and fleeing with her infant. Acting on intelligence-driven policing, the suspect was arrested 3 months later with the baby, who is now 5 months, rescued and reunited with his mother. Let's take a look at this short clip.
This madam.
For market.
Okay, wetin una how una take become friends?
Na business. Say we wan transact business.
Okay. So how she take carry the child from your hand?
She say ma come know where she dey stay.
Okay.
When we come reach Warri, na drink she give me drink.
Okay, not be inside the bus she for give you the drink.
No, inside motor.
Okay, inside motor.
Yes.
Okay, which drink she give you?
5 alive.
Okay, 5 alive. So after you drink, wetin go happen?
Sleep on dey worry me.
Okay.
But I no fit sleep inside motor.
Okay.
When we come reach Igbo market, she tell me her children call her. They say they no dey house. They go birthday. On their way coming back, they will pick us.
Okay.
Na there we sit down, they wait for our children. I come give pikin breast. She say ma no give pikin breast. Ma give pikin water.
Okay.
So I come tell her I give pikin water inside motor. I no go fit give pikin water now like this. She say no be so you do am. Small children, they don't know anything. Might give her.
Okay. Like I said, because of the time that we are managing. So at what point when you take find your pikin, when you not see your pikin again?
In the night, but I don't know the time because I don't get phone.
When the drug take affect you, when they take carry your pikin, you don't know.
Nah, in the evening.
You were sleeping when you wake up, you don't see your pikin again, or how? How did pikin take miss?
I'm sleeping. I was just sleeping. So when I woke up,
the place where she carry you go, na her house, I mean, na where?
No, not her house.
Na where?
Na road. She tell me say na her church member store. So na there we sit down.
So when you wake up, when you call letter wake up, you na church member store true?
Yeah. No, I don't know whether na church member or.
But as you wake up, you don't see your pikin, you go ask question na.
No, they lock the store. Now on Sunday.
Okay, you not go back there after that day?
No, when we come report the matter for station. Me and the IPO for that station, we go there, but now she go ask question.
Okay, you don't know the question which she asked?
Yes.
Okay, no wahala. So where una come eventually arrest her? Where una find her go arrest? Okay, you two you don't know. They just tell you say they do arrest her. Okay, now Ogele.
Yes.
Okay. Now Ogele now she dey stay.
Yes.
Okay, no wahala. Which day una arrest her?
On 29th of April.
On the 29th, that police arrest her?
Yes.
Okay, how old was your child when she stole the child?
2 months, 1 week.
How old is the child now?
Now like this, 5 months, 6 days.
Okay, thank you. So you've heard from the mother of the child. We will be interviewing the suspect now. So, madam, what is your name?
Temitokbe.
Temitokbe, you are from where?
Ondo.
How old are you?
49.
Okay, this pikin, where did they find? Which person hand?
Right, we've seen from that short clip on how a child was trafficked from her mother. So we'll be taking some comments on social media concerning this story. And the first comment is coming from Julian Jeman. And Julian says, investigate her grown kids. She might have stolen them. Because she said she actually adopted this child because she's feeling lonely and all her kids are all grown up. Why adopt a child? Why not just go and get the child? Why adopt someone else's child? So the next comment is coming from BU Services, and BU says, why will people be desperate about children? Anyway, I doubt if that could be the reason for her action. Good work to the police. Yes, kudos to the policemen. Inspector Edafe did a good job there. We are really going to appreciate the police for this one. The third comment is coming from Sherry Coco. Sherry Coco says, thank God she did not kill the mother before stealing her baby. Oh, I am glad mother and child reunited. Yes, we are happy to hear this good news because some cases we don't get to see that the child get reunited with their mother. So that's it today on Social Buzz. I am Ogochukwu Mobno.
Do stay with us as Global Morning continues. Well, many thanks, Ogochukwu Mobuna, for that social buzz. It's interesting to know what is really happening. And, you know, there's a saying that says, once you look at what is happening and then you have a glimpse of what's happening online, what's even more interesting is not the videos that you see, it's the perspective from Nigerians, the comments. I'm always in the comment section because sometimes you get more information. For me, I get more information from the comment section. You see people giving you in-depth analysis as to, oh, I know this person personally. If there's a story that breaks out today and, you know, people are talking about it, there's an issue going on and there's just a highlight, people highlight a few things about what they know and what they've done. The comment section is where you have the real conversation. Because people are saying, I know this, you can have testimonies of people who have either worked with that person, who are neighbors with that person, who have lived with this person and all of that. But aside that, it's really interesting to know that times have changed, where we can get information at the tip of our fingers, you know, at a click of a button, we can get information and all of that. And also, it is worrisome because with this vast information, we learn about the ills that are happening day in, day out from people that we never thought or would never think that would do this, you know, sort of perpetrate these sort of crimes and all of that. But in all, we hope that even as times change, that things would get better, that even with the information we have, people will begin to be enlightened, and we use this information for our good, be it police, be it parastatals, agencies. With this much information that we have, we will use it for the betterment of our society.
There's no better way to put it, because quite frankly, one of the challenges we're dealing with as a country is gross institutional failure, right? Why do people complain about the police? Why do people complain about the correctional service or system in Nigeria? Why do people complain about the tax system? Why do we complain about the military? Why do we complain about several agencies of government, including the Central Bank of Nigeria, for example? Just yesterday, one of the news items was about some very prominent Nigerian advising the Central Bank of Nigeria to stop manipulating the fiscal and monetary policies under President Bola Tinubu to give allegedly the impression that the economy is doing well and things like that. Now, we wouldn't even be having these conversations if we had a system that is robust, vibrant, and, you know, if you like, evolved enough to run on autopilot. I'll talk about the prison system, for example. A time there was when, under former President Muhammadu Buhari, the former Minister of Information and Orientation, talking about Lai Mohammed, okay, Information and Culture, as it then was, mentioned a specific amount that was spent as budgetary allocation for the feeding of inmates. And I just came and said, hold on a second. I mean, do we need to pinch ourselves to be sure this is really not happening? Because the figures were alarming. Because people were wondering, if inmates eat this much, why do they look the way they do, right? Exactly. So there were questions around that, but government really never responded to it. Government really never gave a response at all, or at least one that could, well, bring closure to that conversation, because it remains open-ended till today. Why? We don't have a system that is able to respond adequately and in a way that is smart as well. We need public institutions that run independently. We don't need to, for example, know somebody who knows somebody. I mean, look at things like even to get affidavit of, certificate of local government origin, for instance. People are asking, do you know anybody who works there in your own state, in your own local government, all right? Of course, that again is even far beneath the question of, do we need to show local government certificate of origin? Do we need to establish states of origin as Nigerians? This is not citizenship we should be discussing as against local government, state government, and things like that. So those are some of the issues that we need to deal with. Then we'll come to the police, because that is the big elephant in the room, and that is the one Nigerians, for the most part, can easily relate with. Why do we have a problem with the police? Somebody was saying that we've come to a point where people just want to even annoy a policeman out of the annoyance that they have for the policeman. So you can imagine how ironic that sounds. But it's the reality we're dealing with. You see a policeman, your first instinct is you are angry, you are annoyed. The policeman has not even had an interaction with you, has not even spoken a word with you. He doesn't even have a business with you, because there's a pent-up kind of ill feeling, all right, between the citizen and the police. Of course, you can say you have a pocket of instances that are not exactly the same, but it is what it is now, right? So how do we, for example, improve police-civil relations? Is important. We've got to be patriotic enough to understand that the policeman is as much a citizen as you are, which means that the policeman is just a Nigerian like you. But why do we have that sort of unpleasant dichotomy where it looks as if the policeman fell through the cracks of the sky and then you are a Nigerian, then we don't treat them like they are? Because there are challenges around how we relate to the police, or how the police themselves relate with the people. For example, I would have thought on a very good day, even though that used to be the practice in Lagos, I don't know if that has changed recently, if a policeman were to use public transportation, let's say a private commercial bus or taxi, by no means should he pay. But is that the case? How many Nigerians will see a policeman flagging down, for example, in uniform, a vehicle, a taxi by the roadside, pull over and gladly offer a ride? These are things we need to look at. So where every time we have a new IG in place and they come grandstanding, a lot of people, including myself, were not blown away, we're not impressed, because it is just what it is. It is grandstanding. What are you going to do differently to move the police system, the policing architecture from where it is to where it should be? Do people feel safe with the police? Even if they do, on a scale of 10, how safe do they feel with the police? If somebody is stuck in between their tree, for example, say you're traveling by a road, assuming you could gladly, happily, willingly, voluntarily travel by a road to, let's say, Lagos, and then say by 6:37 you're trapped in between, what are the odds that you want to go to a police station to take refuge? Where do you feel the safest? Police station, a hotel, some random stranger? I mean, where do you feel the safest?
You know, I kind of relate when you talk about people having inbuilt ill feelings towards policemen and all of that, because this is as a result of what has happened over time. So even if we say that the police are trying to, maybe there's a new lift or somewhat, it will take a while, because of what people have had, accumulated pain and anger over time. I'll give you an instance. A friend of mine was walking to the pharmacy, I think somewhere around past 10 thereabout. He was not feeling too good, and so he took a walk down the pharmacy, which is a stone throw from his house.
Somewhere within the neighborhood?
Yes, his neighborhood. And you know, someone who was not feeling too well and decided to walk down to the pharmacy, and a police van just pulls up, and then everybody in that street, in that area, was bundled into that van and taken to the police station. What was their crime? They could not place, they could not participate. I think they said they were armed robbers, bandits. You just call them all sorts of names and all of that. And this guy had severe headaches and all of that. And, you know, he was, interestingly, I think he you know, someone walking down his area to go get medication or something, they didn't think of carrying his identity card or whatever. But you could tell from his mannerism that obviously this person is not. He said, if you let me, I would, you know, let me. Of course, they took their phones, they couldn't make calls and all of that. I would show you my identity card. This is who I am. I am from, you know, but they wouldn't leave him a listening ear. I think they had to pay 150,000 naira
to secure his bail.
To secure his bail, you know. And so this is somebody that nobody knows his whereabouts. Nobody knows that he's, you know, he was in that kind of situation. It was after he got out, he began to talk about how he was bundled up in a police station and all of that. And then you see somebody like that, and you expect that person to smile when he sees a policeman in the face. When people have been robbed, I was opportune to listen to someone who talked about how somewhere in Abuja here, he got down from a public vehicle, and right under that bridge where they had people selling petty traders around, a young guy pulled up a gun, pointed a gun at him and told him to surrender his phone. Interestingly, that person happened to be the guy happened to be a military personnel. So he found his way around it and, you know, apprehended that young chap who pointed a gun at him. And people gathered. You know, interestingly, his classmates were around that corner as well. So they apprehended this young guy, and of course, he was an army personnel. They took him to the police station, and this policeman granted that boy bail.
Right there.
Not right there, not right there in particular. And then the policeman was
okay.
On what?
They didn't push for charges.
Exactly. So apparently, allegedly, according to him, these people work. You know, they find
more like a syndicate.
Exactly, the police, and this is coming from an army personnel telling you this. So it's just sickening how, you know, the loopholes that we have, how the issue of how I'm looking for the best word to describe it. So the pain that Nigerians feel. This is coming from another military personnel, a uniformed man, who now sees what these guys do, and that's why we have increased cases of violence, increased cases of stealing and killing. You're wondering, but there's a police checkpoint just right around the corner. Why is this thing still prevailing? A couple of months ago, someone we know was robbed, his laptops and everything taken from him right beside a police checkpoint. And when he went to them, they were like, oh, they were on their duty post, or there's nothing they can do about it. So you can imagine. Tell me why, with all of these experiences I've shared, somebody will see a policeman and want to smile.
Or offer a ride.
Or offer that policeman a ride.
I think one of the issues we're dealing with here is just the fact that the police needs more than changing uniform.
Exactly.
That's important, no doubt. But it needs more than that. Police needs more than changing colors. Needs more than changing emblem and all of those physical, tangible paraphernalia. The police needs, quite frankly, a lot of re-engineering, internal working, all right? So if you like reworking, rewiring, and what have you, because whether you like it or not, no matter what the IG of police say, people are going to judge the force by the quality of interaction that they have with the men who are on the ground. For example, I don't judge the police by what I heard the IG say on radio or television or the pages of newspaper or what the police, force public relations officer is saying. I judge the police by the quality of interaction I'm having with his men who have mounted a roadblock a few posts away from my estate gates. How friendly are they? Which also means that, you know, as they say, to whom much is given, much is expected. And they also say that trust is a two-way traffic. While we expect so much from the police, all right, men and officers of the force, it also means that citizens have a responsibility, because where your right stops, that's where another person's starts. What's your responsibility? You're driving, for example, you know that you're approaching a police checkpoint. The standard basically is you turn on your light, your inner light. It's not something you have to acquire formal education to know. You must turn it on. The policeman doesn't need to request for it. He doesn't need to demand it. Once you're approaching, you turn it on. So from a few steps away, your light is already on. They flag you down, you stop. You don't say, I'm in a hurry, I'm in a rush, whatever it is. Yes, we know there are overzealous policemen who are rather going to confiscate your papers and walk away like nothing has happened. There are those who are just being mischievous. They want to punish you. They want to delay you and all of that. But please, let's be sure you as a citizen, whether you're a motorist, you're on a bike, you're riding tricycle, which we popularly call keke, or you're even a pedestrian, the policeman can stop you. But the problem Nigerians have had over the decades is the manner in which they do all of things.
And then the extortions.
I remember one time, exactly. I mean, evidence, there's preponderance of evidence in that regard.
We see it every day.
Yes.
We see it every day.
I had had one time, this was in Benin City, there's a place called Ring Road, it's a center, in fact we call it the city center, right? I was carrying a backpack, I was in school, I'd gone to somewhere in Nigeria with a friend to see someone. We're coming back, just between two bus terminals. There's this policeman whose business actually was providing protection for a VIP. So the VIP I had come with was somewhere inside a building, so he was waiting outside. He was calling me that he wanted to see my bag. Right? What were you going to see? Incidentally, the only thing in that bag was a big book that I had to buy by force because a particular professor said, if you didn't buy that book, you were not a serious student. And I showed it to him. The whole time, apparently, his impression was that there was a laptop inside. You know, that has been another problem. The policeman, I mean, on the average, believes that everybody with a backpack has a laptop. And if you have a laptop, by default, you are a Yahoo boy. Therefore, we must stop you and see what's inside. And then the issue of whether the policeman has the right to check your personal devices, your mobile phones, your tablets, your laptops, has been laid to rest. Even this current IG has addressed that issue. So Nigerians must know their rights and responsibilities in terms of how they relate with the police. You see, the issue of the police is very much ongoing, but I'm sure there's a little more you want to unpack.
A little more I want to unpack. While I think that Nigerians should do their due diligence, their civic responsibility as responsible citizens and patriotic Nigerians. Take, for instance, like you mentioned, put on your inner light when you approach a checkpoint, police checkpoint. Avoid making phone calls while you're approaching a police checkpoint. Make sure that you have your papers, licenses
up to date and available.
Yeah, available. And then just respond in the most polite way possible as a responsible citizen. While for the police, I also think that a lot of reforming and restructuring needs to be done for them. I'll give you an instance. You cannot give a hungry man a gun to fight. They will compromise. They will make compromises because, yes, food is very important. What a hungry man will do, if a man is hungry, then I bet you see desperation at work.
Right.
You see this, they're not thinking properly, they're not doing. And then our police barracks. Over time, I don't know, a lot needs to be done, restructuring. I grew up in Lagos, and as at that time, the police barracks we know of them happens to be one of the worst places that you can ever think of. I mean, talk about dirt, talk about the building, the structures and all of that. And then it's not a reputation that we want to assume for our police personnel, police officers. The children of the schools, particularly you see police schools, you see how dilapidated it is and all of that. For people who lay down their life in service to this great nation, we owe them something better, at least a decent accommodation.
Right. For them and their families.
For them and their families, yes, because these people, they put their life on the line for the nation, in serving the nation and all of that. And if they are not better, if they are not properly remunerated, they will make compromises, and that's what we don't want. And also their salary structure as well, and the police welfare. I remember we had a conversation where we were talking about what's the ratio of a policeman to a citizen? You know, we have more citizens, we have less. In fact, nowadays we have more policemen guarding an individual than a particular area that has been marked for notorious activities.
Right.
So I give you an instance. We're talking about Central Mosque Junction now, where we have talked about incidences and cases of people that have been robbed there, people that have been killed in that particular junction, week in, week out, and we don't have a proper police checkpoint there. But we see an individual who is notorious and controversial for doing very outright things, and then we are seeing 5 policemen following that person to functions. We need to restructure.
Sometimes having to shoot in the air to announce his presence.
Exactly, shoot in the air, you know, camouflage and jamboree and what have you. And then we have people in critical conditions as a result of designated areas. People are leaving those areas because of security challenges that we have there. Policemen, either they're not well equipped. And then vigilantes. Can we look forward to the case of security, particularly in Nigeria, away from the policemen? How can we also help out with our local securities to help the fight? Because it's something that we have to do collectively. We cannot say we leave out the issue of insecurity alone to the policemen. Policemen that we're talking about their structures right now, and they're not better remunerated, and their welfare are not put into consideration. Let us look for other means as well. Better equip our vigilantes, better training, educate them, so that it's a collective fight, you know, against the enemy called insecurity and not against Nigerians. Well,
That's a brilliant.
But there's something that also been in the news, which is AI. You see, AI is taking jobs now, artificial intelligence. But that's a better way. I think our police. I wanted to say we can also use artificial intelligence. Let our policemen integrate. But you know, when we bring up that conversation, they will say for the policemen that we're still talking about their structure, and we're talking about AI.
So that's
right
a bit
now.
too sophisticated.
Yes, that's a bit too sophisticated.
Well, let's take a quick break. Again, there's so much to talk about AI, if you ask me, because there's so much of controversy around AI now, and there are those who say, well, AI is going to do this, is going to do that, but we're going to talk to you about that right after this short break. All right, artificial intelligence. I mean, everybody is having the conversation about the phenomenon on different levels for whatever reason. But it's the future. You know, at the point it was the IoT that was the big deal, Internet of Things. Of course, that's still right there, no doubt about it. But the last few years, AI has now, if you like, taken the front seat role. It has become so prominent that it's as if nothing else matters in the world of information technology beyond the AI. First of all, there's the talk, if you like, the debates about whether or not artificial intelligence is going to take away jobs. So someone like Queen Agaba, for example, is wondering, so are you saying we are on the verge of history where I don't need to come to work because AI will read my news, will do my reports, exactly, and just do everything that I do. So why would Global Television still need my service and expertise in that case? Well, that's part of the conversation. There's also been the concern around ethical issues. All right, what is too much in terms of the deployment of AI? That conversation is big. Even the big players on the global stage, like Elon Musk, have also been cautioning the entire world, governments, institutions, and individuals about ethical concerns regarding artificial intelligence. And then finally, how do we domesticate the conversation and deployment of AI? Because whether you like it or not, no matter the blessing it brings, if Nigeria and indeed Nigerians cannot benefit off of it, then it's going to mean little or nothing.
Yes, little or nothing, like you rightly said. But there are a lot of benefits, blessings that it brings, but there are concerns as well, particularly in the area of ethical concerns. But I want to quickly mention that I think that while AI is a blessing, while we think that AI is taking jobs, AI will not take the jobs of people who know how to use AI to do their jobs. Yes, and take for instance, now we have not gotten to that stage yet where AI can correctly or articulately say things in our indigenous languages just yet, but we're gradually getting there. Now, I saw a video recently where you just put a prompt, AI prompt, and then the AI, it looks so real. You get the pidgin accent and all of that. And then
is it like the Warri accent?
The Warri accent. You see a driver. I wish you could put up those videos maybe in one of our episodes so that people can see those videos. But it's everywhere online right now. You see a driver driving and saying, oh, like speaking literally, but it's just for few 1 minute prompts for now. I think that's the farthest people can
go. So apparently it's a project in the works.
It's a project in the works, and there are concerns around whether filmmakers will be able to use human actors now, because AI is doing the work, creating the scenes. You don't need cameras, you don't need lightings anymore. You need to have seen these videos. Really looking, you just tell the AI prompt, oh, I want a setting with a woman selling akara and cautioning her children, and you get it. The cultural attires, and so there are concerns. But the biggest concern now is that there'll be increased crime, and those evidences, people think that people would be able to get away with crimes and say that, oh, this is AI. Anything that happens, this is AI. Because now the videos, these artificial intelligence videos are looking so real. They're getting the accent, I couldn't differentiate between. I couldn't tell. You know, initially we could tell that, oh, this is AI. But when I saw those videos in our cultural attires, in our setting, our regular setting, in our accents, for 1 minute, I couldn't tell that it was AI until I saw further prompts with the guy saying, oh, these are the prompts that he created
these are AI prompts that he had created, and brilliant, beautiful, sparking a whole lot of conversation on Twitter right now. And it's interesting to know, but those ethical concerns still remain. I'm afraid for the future. And people were saying, I'm always in the comment section, someone said, when I'm 60 years old, I'm not sending money to anybody I cannot see in my front. Because, even my children, if you tell me a video, show me a video of my children saying, Daddy, please send me money, I'm not believing it until I see them in my front. So that's just to tell you how the world has evolved, and how, we need to get caught up, and people need to get acquainted with AI, for their good.
Right.
The fear around, will AI take my job? No, I just think that you need to learn how you need to adapt to the changing trends that are happening. So we need to take up that challenge and learn, okay, AI is the in thing, rather than remain in your comfort zone and saying, oh, I'm not. So learn, how can I use this for my betterment? People in business now, it's interesting to know that AI now develops business proposals for you. So AI works for the intelligent.
Right.
This is me just saying, because as if you want to develop your project and whatever it is you have, AI gives you can give you a theme, can give you a rough sketch or something, just develop it for you. All you need to do is look at it and then fine-tune it the way you want it to do. Whether creating content, I was just looking around creating content myself for something I was looking at doing, and then I had brainstormed, and I just thought, why not just ask
AI?
ChatGPT, and interestingly, it came out, they gave me content ideas and all of that. So why we sit and say, oh, AI, the fear around, no, just leverage it, use it for your good. And AI would also, interesting thing is, AI can even increase job creativity, increase even job opportunities.
Even your productivity, and help you expand your capacity, right?
Absolutely, and even job opportunities. So while we're saying that, oh, AI will take away jobs, AI would also bring jobs, give you ideas for, you can even ask AI, as they say you are taking my job, how can I get another job? AI will give you.
So you can use AI to use AI.
Exactly, absolutely.
Well, it's interesting. But I'm also very concerned about those ethical issues, quite frankly. Now, I mean, this day and age, more than ever before, you hear about what they call deep fakes, right? So this came about my colleague. I worked with her for well over a year, something around a year and 6 months, for example. All right, and then somebody sent me pictures and videos, all right, and things like that with Queen in scenes that are very concerning, very disturbing. So if I don't have the patience and the headspace to do my own due diligence, to do background checks, I might just assume that's what it was. I'll give you an example. Former Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, said, I listened to him say that's his wife was, saw a video of him in a very compromising situation, all right, that kind of thing. And his wife called him immediately and called him by his first name and said, what is this I'm saying? Yet the man was not even 1,000 foot or 1,000 miles close to that kind of thing. It was just technology that was used to cook up all of those things. So we have that. So when you hear people like Elon Musk crying every day about how that ethical concerns regarding AI should be addressed, that's exactly what they're talking about. So it's going to be used by governments against governments. At the nation versus nation. In job politics and everything, it's going to use for, it's already being used for propaganda anyway. So you can find the governor of a state, you can find the president of a nation, even a royalty, a king, a monarch, for example, in a compromising situation or scenario, all thanks to artificial intelligence. And then that brings us to a very big point. See, I'm old enough to know what happened when we were going to get into the .com era. People were saying at the turn of the 21st century, that's as we're entering 2000, a lot of things will happen. There will be explosion of your electronics. Of course, we had a television coming from my father's day and all of that. And it was a legacy for us, not because of the monetary value or something, but just because it was the one my dad bought to surprise my mom and all that. So my other brother and I were thinking, so are you saying this TV will explode because we're entering, moving from 1999 into 2000, young boys just thinking a lot and things like that. They said everything will shut down across the world, your light bulbs, your refrigerators, your sound systems, even your vehicles won't move, blah, 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 blah. Ladies and gentlemen, this is 25 years into a new millennium. All we have seen is evolution. Just a few days ago, I was just chatting with an IT guy, and we're talking about what has happened. A lot of the things that have happened how that back in the day, your go-to chat platform was Yahoo Messenger. People would have to come to the cyber cafe, buy tickets, as they used to call it, just to get access to the internet, and then chat with somebody on Yahoo. And then you had platforms like High Five, you had MySpace. MySpace was big, not Facebook, it was MySpace. But today, what you have is Facebook, right? So the AI phenomenon is pretty much the same if you ask me. So it's going to be about you having an open mind first. Don't fly by all of the things you hear. I mean, just have an open mind. Understand what the basic elements are. Ask yourself, how does it apply to my field? For example, if you're a project professional, project management professional, as a PMP, how can you use AI? Whether you're in construction, whatever it is, you are in supply chain business, you are in fast-moving consumer goods business, you are a realtor, you are a broadcaster like us, for example. How can I use AI to better the work that I do? Even, well, principalities, if you ask me, like Bill Gates, I've said, look, yes, AI is here to stay for the longer term. However, there are still jobs artificial intelligence cannot take away. Finally, the point is not to be scared of what AI will do to your job. It should be to be excited about what AI can do for your job.
Absolutely. I think that's a good place to leave it at. It's a good question to ask. Well, we'll take a quick break now. And when we return, we'll move on to other conversations for you. Please stay with us. Global Morning continues. Many thanks for staying with us, bringing you the front pages of the newspaper headlines and other segments of Global Morning. It's been an interesting ride. We'll now look at the international scene, what's happening in the international scene, after which we'll come back and have our second discussion with our guests. Let's look at what Uyi Agbomofuekwe has for us.
Beninese cyber activist Steve Amosu, accused of keeping an online account critical of those in power, has been sentenced to 2 years in prison for what authorities call politically motivated insults and spreading false information. His lawyer, Abubakar Barape, says his incarceration is a service to those who have an interest in seeing Mr. Amosu lavish in prison for something he did not do and for which there is no proof. The digital activist is suspected of being behind the account named Frey Onvey, a famous and anonymous columnist who posted viral audio commentaries to his 75,000 subscribers. His post criticized the actions of the Benin regime under President Patrice Talon. who has been in power since 2016. Beyond Africa, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan has opened the second round of peace talks between Ukrainian and Russian delegations in Istanbul, saying U.S. support for the negotiations is extremely important. Fidan insisted that the main goal is to achieve sustainable peace, telling the two sides who are meeting for direct negotiations in the Turkish capital that President Trump's determination to establish peace has opened a new window of opportunity. Uyi Agbomofwegbe, reporting for Global TV News.
Just to quickly establish a bit of perspective on this issue. So there's an activist in Benin Republic who has now been sentenced to 2 years imprisonment. Well, they say he has been behind allegedly some faceless blog of 75,000 followers, where he has successfully over time posted several viral videos criticizing the government, this kind of vocal activism where you highlight issues you believe the government is not getting right, and then you continue to talk about them. And then, of course, there's this, if you like, plethora of responses and reactions, comments and everything, those that you like to read, by the way. And then the government says, well, the best thing to do is to take legal action in this regard. And long and short of the story, he just got sentenced to 2 years imprisonment. But even the bigger story now is that of the Russian-Ukraine war. There has been a series of talks in Istanbul, Turkey, by both Russian and Ukrainian delegations to talk about ceasefire. Now, Russia says we're agreeing to a 2 to 3 day ceasefire. But the guys from Ukraine say, well, we would prefer is unconditional, something at least for 1 month, so we have enough time to discuss and find closure. Now, by the way, those talks ended yesterday. One of the concerns now is that while on the one hand, Donald Trump, the U.S. president, wants this war to end as quickly as possible, the challenge is that it will appear that Russia thinks differently. It will appear that Russia is not buying the terms that President Trump is advancing, so though rather a different set of terms altogether. Now, add to that the fact that while these talks were ongoing, both Russia and Ukraine were bombarding themselves the entire time. So these are now concerns as to whether or not there's a chance this war will end anytime soon, and what more needs to be done to ensure that it comes to an end as quickly as possible. Of course, that's just us taking a break for a second to pretend as if there's nothing going on in Gaza, even though we know Israel and Hamas are still fighting tooth and nail, and the issue of the aid constraints in Gaza is ongoing. We know, for example, that even the UN has said that, look, the condition in Gaza is deteriorating practically on a day-to-day basis. And all of these are even more now compounded by the fact that the United States has cut aid to various international agencies, including to a multilateral agency like the United Nations. So it's a complicated world we live in right now.
Yeah, it's a complicated world indeed. With all of the talks around issues, disputes, particularly between Gaza and then what we have happening in the U.S., trade, China, and all of that. We really hope that we'll find a middle ground somehow, because at the end of it, the African countries particularly are the ones who suffer the most from some of these trade wars that we have and some of these disputes and wars that we have happening around. Because if proper measures and care is not taken, we could have an escalation of these issues with some other parties are already taking sides.
Right.
Take, for instance, some African countries right now. So we're looking forward to, and we're praying that these issues do not escalate beyond what it is already in the foreign sector.
That's quite interesting. Well, what more can we say? We just hope that, like Tupac Amaru Shakur had said back in the day, one of the things we must do in order to find peace in the entire world is to ensure that there is peace in the Middle East. All right, because whether you like it or not, the war in the Middle East, this Gaza conflict, if you like, has now given people no option than no other option than to take sides or to pitch tents one way or another. But more concerning is the humanitarian issue, right? We used to host here every other time the ambassador of, talking a Palestinian ambassador in Nigeria, who again, on account of this war, has had to travel back home, and hopefully he returns soon, so he can also continue to join us as we push this narrative. Still feels like yesterday, but today this war has taken a drastic turn, something that happened since 7th of October 2023. It's been a year and 8 months, and there's no end in sight. Women, children are dying every other day. Hospitals and schools have been bombarded, and there's virtually no safe place in the entire Gaza for the people to stay. To live in. Now, just upon assuming office, President Donald Trump had proposed that his own solution is to move everybody away from Gaza into, disperse them across Egypt and Jordan, which, the Gazans themselves say, well, these are native land, we go nowhere. And we're also seeing voices, very vehement voices across the world, even within the Middle Eastern region, speak up against that proposal. But let's see how world leaders, starting with the Middle East, will be able to come to the round table and have this conversation as to what needs to be done going forward to bring an end to this conflict.
Yes, we'll have to move back to Nigeria, where a lot is happening, particularly regarding Salah celebration. There's been talk.
Just a few days away.
Yes, a few days away. So there's so much happening, so much. It's festive. It's the festive season, and but one issue that has remained consistent is the issue of pricing.
Food items,
particularly essentials. When it's festive seasons like this, the price go up a bit. And then our correspondent yesterday went to the market to look at, Samuel Odi was in the market to look at, to analyze, hear from traders and also hear from buyers how they're faring and how the prices have surged since the celebration. It's interesting to know that while we still have people, because it's a festive season, people are doling out food items because that's what this season is about, love as well. People are giving out food items and all of that, but we will not take away the fact that these food essentials, these essentials in the market have increased, the prices have increased, and from the conversation Odi had, I believe would take a look at that report. Traders have lamented vegetables, from crayfish, from just those things. How I could remember when we used to buy these. Now we can't get good pepper. I think you'll be counting the pepper that we get. Usually we get pepper we get a basket, like a round basket for 1,000 naira thereabout. But now you'll be counting 4 or 5 pieces for 500 naira for pepper. This pepper, and these are items that we have in abundance. And take for instance ginger. It was rumored that ginger now we have, because the Nigerian Export Promotion Council recently talked about how they're pushing for exports for some of our commodities, some of our produce, our farm produce here. So they're pushing for exports that is being exported to other parts of the country. But it's also been rumored, particularly from traders in the market, that because I remember going to the market and then I found out that ginger that I would usually get for 500 would be a handful, and now I'm buying just one seed of ginger for 500. And I'm wondering, but we have ginger in Jos, in Kaduna, in
all over the place.
All over the place, we have just ginger everywhere. Why am I buying a seed of ginger for 500 naira? And then one of the traders there says that now if I should be grateful for what I have now, because these gingers are being exported. In fact, before the gingers are harvested, we already have people waiting to off-takers to come and So while we're pushing for export, let's ask that question of, do we have enough
back at home for local consumption?
Before we talk about exporting to. It's a brilliant idea that our commodities are being exported and we're making for these traders
foreign exchange.
But what happens to the people at home? Do we have enough to go around?
We say charity begins at home.
Exactly. Why are we buying more? Why are we buying? Why are the prices increasing? These are some of the reasons. These products are exported. Yam, for example, yam is exported, and then we're buying 1 tuber of yam for an outrageous amount of money. We're buying pepper, 5 seeds of pepper. We could take for instance, the NAPC has come up to say that, okay, no. For the case of ginger, it's not because we're exporting ginger. It's because there was a termite
attack on our ginger here in the country. That's why we have, so within a short period of time, treatment is going and all of that, we'll have abundance of ginger. But away from ginger now, if ginger is not the case, how about pepper? How about yam? How about other food items that have really skyrocketed, that have been exported as well? So let's look at us having more at home here in Nigeria before we talk about exports. Let's ensure that it's well rounded before we talk about export. Anyways, let's look at this report as filed by Samuel Odi.
Over the years, Salah celebration comes with wild excitement as Muslim faithfuls prepare to celebrate the season in a grand style. But this year's Salah tends to come with a mixed reaction as many residents within the Federal Capital Territory are already lamenting the high cost of food items in the market. They are, however, left with no choice but to adjust their budget, reduce their food intake, or seek alternative source of income.
For some weeks now, the price of the things in the market are normal. It's not too high. At least we can afford it. It's not that cost like before. But because of this salad, some things like pepper, tomatoes, all those things that they will use in doing salad, that is the only thing that high. Yes, but other things are still normal.
Things are expensive. Before this set of here like this, you get it 5,000, 10,000 or 15. Now you can even hear you saying 17,000, last 16,000.
I say it's normal, everything is going up. Things are expensive. Prices have been high. So I don't think it is salad.
They're not really better. They are not. What did I even just price now that is like off the roof for me? So I can't really say they've gotten better. And the market is a bit scanty today too. So we're like struggling over the few things, unlike how the market usually is. Yes, usually like very full. So, but we are hopeful.
While sellers are struggling to maintain their profit margins, consumers are looking for affordable alternatives in order not to exceed their budget.
I think the government needs to do more things because things are getting expensive the more. We cannot afford anything. Look at it now, we are in the market. There are no buyer. It's only these people that are selling that are much in the market. People cannot buy because there's no money. We don't even understand the government at all.
My brother, the prices of things are so crazy. Like, it's so scary that when you come out like this to sell, you're not sure of what to do. I mean, what the day will bring because of the prices. Today you hear 1,000, for example, tomorrow you hear 2,000. So those things are the challenges we are having. And I believe where these things are coming from is the issue of petrol, that is fuel. If the fuel can come back at least, we know it's very difficult, but if it can come to at least 500 naira, things will change. Which 500 naira normally in this country is already expensive, you get my point. But if it can come to that level, there are going to be change of prices in the market and people will feel good.
It is obvious that food items are still on the rise. Nigerians have called for the president to intervene in this current situation. Samuel Odi reporting for Global Television News.
Thank you so very much, business correspondent Samuel Odi, for taking out the time to get, real time on the ground to find out what the situation is with regards to the costs of living, particularly as it has to do with the Salah celebration, which is upon us right now. Of course, Odi will also take out time to look at transportation as well, because people will travel across this country, back and forth, end to end, for obvious reasons. So starting from maybe today, tomorrow, into the weekend and all of that. And a lot of schools have midterm in between. So Salah is just going to usher in a long break for many pupils. But the concern of all that, yes, we understand demand usually increases during festivity, whether it's big Salah, small Salah, Christmas, Easter, and things like that. But it will appear there are vendors, or if you like traders, who also abuse these seasons, these festive periods. to, if you like, just create some artificial upsurge in prices.
Exactly. Yes, there are people who, prior to Salah celebration, are already buying items. They're restocking their goods. Items that they would buy for seemingly lesser the amount, they would stock it up, anticipating the Salah season so that they can triple the prices. Whether be it Salah, be it Christmas, wherever there's a festive season, months ahead, traders are already stocking their shop. I think that that's a bit taking advantage. We complain about the government. We complain about how things are being done, what's happening. We complain about the police and all of that. But we ourselves are not being fair to ourselves as Nigerians and as citizens. We all go to the market. We all face the same fuel increase and the scarcity. Whatever happens to all of us. And then we still go ahead to do these sort of things, triple the prices, where people are crying and complaining before they're able to buy this. And most times when the prices of these items go down, these traders do not reflect those prices on their goods.
Well, they tell you it's old stock.
Yes, it's old stock. They bought it. Meanwhile, they just got it today while the price is coming down and all of that. So we see an increase in these activities where whether prices come down, regardless, the prices of these goods, these traders never bring down their prices. And it's high time, because we're really driving inflation fast and pushing for inflation fast, where we never see a reduction in the prices of goods, goods and services, even when there's reduction in fuel prices, reduction in some of these rates are taking off. When there's a reduction, we don't see it reflecting the food prices. I think Nigerians, it's high time we begin to do ourselves a favor and be fair. Literally, let's just have human sympathy. Inflation is really dealing with every one of us. The least we can do is make life bearable for Nigerians, particularly in this season. People are out to celebrate. Let us help in aiding that celebration and spreading love. We say it's a season of love as well, Idil Kabir. Let us also spread that love, respect the season.
And to even think that one of the very fundamental pillars, or if you like, attributes of Idil Kabir is the fact that there's sacrifice in it. Sacrifice is one of the values that should be espoused, that is expected to be espoused this period. So question is, who is making sacrifice for us to be able to move the country, move the economy, move the standard of living from point A to point B? Now, away from that, still talking about prices of food items and essentials, for example. Following the removal of fuel subsidy, there had been this call for federal government to regulate the prices of food. But the question then was, how do you intend to do that? You have the mechanism in place. But of course, in the middle of that conversation, there was the directive by the president to say open the food reserves. Then there was the declaration of state of emergency of food security. Of course, we have had 2 declarations of such now, which is something we need to continue to interrogate, especially in light of these second-year anniversary of the President Bola Tinubu administration, right? But quite interesting is World Environment Day upon us on Thursday as well. So much to talk about the environment. Whether you like it or not, the environment is our baby, because we live here, a world of over 8 billion people. We have the responsibility, without being told, to nurture, cater to this environment. But you can't divorce environmental issues from climate, right? Whatever happens to climate apparently would ultimately bounce back or have a reverberating impact on the environment. So we did a report a while ago about climate change, what the numbers are saying, and what governments and, of course, critical stakeholders must do to better align the conversation. Here's our report.
It's a gift of the God. Every natural resource, whether it's oil, gas, wheat, sun, gold, silver, copper, all that are natural resources. And countries should not be blamed for having them, and should not be blamed for bringing these resources to the market, because the market needs them, the people need them.
Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev delivering a speech at the 2024 United Nations Climate Change Conference, otherwise referred to as COP29, a gathering that perhaps raises more questions than it provides answers to issues of the environment. Beyond COP29, however, Nigeria is facing its own peculiar issue regarding climate change back at home. Nigeria is Africa's most populous nation, one working tooth and nail to drive socio-economic reforms. While citizens are waiting with huge expectation to see how much of significant results will emerge in that regard, the country also has to grapple with the adverse impact of climate change. Rising sea levels, drought up in the north of the country, coupled with excessive rains, it means that this otherwise blessed nation will have to find a closure between data and the conversation around climate change. Average annual temperature in Nigeria has been projected to swing between 1.1 and 2.5 degrees Celsius by 2060. This stark reality highlights the country's need to use data as a tool for addressing the visible impacts of climate change. Timothy Ogeye is Senior Climate Policy Analyst at Society for Planet and Prosperity, a research fellow at the Center for Climate Change and Development at Alex Ekweme University in Ebonyi State. He shares his thoughts.
Did a study to find out the 36 states of Nigeria, what are the states doing as regards climate change? And the data we got is that among the 36 states, only 7 states have a climate change policy.
What then needs to be done in order to address this anomaly? Ogeye again offers some insights.
The developing country came up with a unified amount of $1.3 trillion, but the developing country made a commitment of $300 billion. So that falls short of what the developing country is asking for. However, if you have a database, we know an exact amount that is needed per community based on the project that we need to do. And one of the key projects that we realize that needs to be done when it comes to climate change is issues of adaptation. What is adaptation? Helping communities to adjust to the impact of climate change. We might not necessarily start mitigating some of the impact by lowering the increase of the greenhouse gases to lower the global temperature, then we can adapt. And some of the projects we need to start doing is what we refer to as the locally led adaptation.
Following the deliberations that held at the COP29 in Baku, Azerbaijan, many of the pundits who follow developments around climate change now say that this particular event, unlike the ones before it, is a game changer for the environment. However, the issues around funding and the scientific aspects of this conversation will also pose their peculiar challenges in the days, weeks, months, and years ahead.
You see, that was Azerbaijan just last year. Still feels like yesterday. This year, well, that will be in November. We're moving to a different part of the world to talk about COP30. That was COP29, by the way, to talk about COP20. To look at where are we right now. Countries have talked about emissions. They've talked about cutting emissions, that is. They've talked about how the large corporations are some of the biggest corporates in terms of the depletion of the ozone layers. Then we've talked about very industrialized nations like the US, like China, like Germany. These are the biggest economies on earth today. How much of contribution are they making? At the point we're hearing, okay, some $100 billion will be put together by these countries to be able to help, not too economically strong nations to deal with and address the impacts, of course, the adverse impacts of global warming, climate change, whatever you want to call it. But to what extent are we even aware of what these challenges are? Because on a level, the conversation around climate change is scientific. All right, but how do we bring it down for the everyday person to understand what the issues are? Well, I'm joined by the de facto producer of Global Morning today, who is also a senior anchor here at Global Television, Jumai Manson.
Oh, how are you doing? It's great to be here.
Yeah,
I like the fact that you said de facto producer, so everyone in the world will know what's been happening here on Global Television.
Right.
But it's great to be here. And then when you spoke about climate change and all of that, I said, how much are people well abreast with what climate change is all about? People don't see the value of trees.
Right.
People do not understand that when there is an earthquake, it has to do with all of these things encompassed. And people wonder to themselves, what's it all about? How does it even affect me? As long as I can walk on the road and the road is smooth. But you have to understand that this is part and parcel of it, and it concerns you and I.
Right.
I think that awareness is not there yet. I think the awareness has not been really made known to individuals in the public society, whether you're way up there or way down there. People should be abreast of what is going on. Like the flood that we're having now. We're not done talking about Niger State, Mokwa. And we saw that about 150 people have died.
No, news today says 200.
200, yes, exactly. I was going to come to that. And these are people that are accounted for. How about the ones that are unaccounted for? And then you just wonder, you see to yourself, what is going on? How can we understand and be aware that this is real and it has come to stay? We have to find a way to have these precautionary measures when it comes to, finding a way around it. I know sometimes you might say, yes, it's a natural disaster, yes, but we as humans, we can actually try our bit so it won't, blow up into something very, very big. At least even if it's, it could be curbed in a way. So that's just the thing. Many of us were not aware. We do not even understand what climate change is all about. And when you talk about global warming, someone says, what do you mean? I do not understand. But it has come to stay. And if it's not well tended, it could lead to something very, very outrageous.
Talking about tendering, for example, obviously the Earth, the entire planet is asked to tender.
Yes, it is.
And you don't. Sometimes you're at crossroads as to whether you should blame people who either don't know a jack about climate change and global warming, or those who do know a little about it, or even substantially are knowledgeable about it, but feel there are bigger issues to pay attention to.
Yes.
Because you look at someone like Donald Trump, for example, at his level. That's the leader of the free world, who still believes that all of the issues around climate change are nothing but some gimmicks, some persons who have some certain interests that they're pushing. Of course, that explains the reason he would pull the U.S. out of the Paris deal, which has to do with environment, which former President Obama had signed America into and all of that. But when you bring it back home, is it not amazing, disturbing, and annoying at the same time how that once it rains, that's the best time for some people to empty their waste baskets
into
the water channels?
Exactly.
And then you're asking yourself, where does the waste end up eventually?
That's one thing. I was talking with someone and we're looking at my guest yesterday, of course, Barrister Kola, who's a international lawyer. He mentioned this same thing, and he said, Jumai, a lot of individuals in our society, when there is rain, that's the avenue for them to dispose dirt, dispose waste and all of that, not minding where it ends up. You'll be shocked to know that most of the waste and of course the dirt in which you channel to all of these drainage and all of that causes havoc somewhere.
Right.
It might not be within, but outside, when you see flood, just know that you were part of what just happened, that cave life, properties and all of that. It is as trivial as that. It's very important that we should know that sometimes, or all the time, most of the waste that you throw into this drainage and this water systems that you feel is going to wash away, because that's the norm. It's going to wash away, causes havoc somewhere. There's a channel that the water it will stop water from flowing. So it's very important that in our society people understand why drainage or channels are being blocked because of this particular this particular thing that individuals do and all of that. So that awareness needs to be made. Very, very important. At least, like I said, it might not eradicate this as a natural disaster, but at least it will curb it to some point, and it will not cause leading to so many loss of any life is important, by the way.
Can't take that away.
We can never take that away. And of course, talking about bridge, of course we know what happened about looking at Niger State, Mokwa, the bridge. And you cannot tell me that that bridge did not give a sign that something was going to happen.
For a long time.
For a long time. It's just like when we had that issue in Maiduguri, the Maiduguri Dam, the one that happened. There was a crack. People, it kept some individuals said, yes, there was a crack, but we ignored it because we felt it wouldn't. It's something small. Yes. Definitely, that bridge must have given that sign. It doesn't, for something trivial like that to happen, there is always a sign. It's just like when, let me give an example now. You have a little tear on your trouser and you decide to ignore it, and then next year you wash it one time, it begins to expand, and then before you know it, it's gone. Wear and tear. It's wear and tear. So at the same time, that sign on that bridge, I think the lives that were lost wouldn't have been so much if the needful was done, and those in authority would have done the right thing at the right time. Creating awareness, sensitization. Hey, we have TV houses, we have radio houses. It doesn't take you anything. That is your forte. You have to. It's very important. There's some that do not know. Those that live in rural areas that do not even understand and say to themselves, there's a way you can actually localize this in local dialects for them to understand. Say it, Marv, you can say it in Yoruba, you can say it in Hausa, you can say it. Get the message passed that you shouldn't do this because it can cause this. It's very dangerous, hazardous in the society. We need to understand all of that. But I think sometimes we're very lackadaisical and we say, who do we blame now? Who do we blame in all of this? Do we blame those that are in that forte? Do we blame the individuals in society? Do we blame the fact that the bridge is wicked or it's old and it needs to be? Who do we blame in this sort of thing? Let's do our bit. You've always said something that if individuals do their bit, it will not. There won't be so much, like a lackadaisical attitude when it comes to work, or that particular gap when it comes to work and delivering at the same time.
My wife and I, we saw an estate, for example, where you have this greenery, very impressive. So you can tell that a lot of effort and intentionality had gone into it.
Very important.
So she says something very incisive to me. She looks at me and says, look, in some cities, this place would have been developed. You would have had houses all over this place because somebody feels it's a waste of land for having greenery instead of developing maybe blocks of flats and things like that, because we seem to believe that money comes first, not knowing that you need all of these scenarios to be able to encourage the environment, for want of better words, that sort of thing. How many of us still plant trees, for example? Even state governments, do they give priority and attention to these things? Every state has a Ministry of Environment.
Very true.
Of course, we have the Federal Ministry of Environment that has several parastatals on that. In fact, we now even have the Climate Change Office, which is domiciled right in the presidency, for example. What is their mandate? What are their priorities? How much of investment are they making in terms of addressing issues that are specific to the environment, to climate change? And how are we using the National Orientation Agency as a sort of, so to speak, special purpose vehicle to drive the narrative, like you said, in various Nigerian languages? Drive it home so people understand the need to, even if you can't plant a tree, don't bring down one that is already planted.
Don't bring out one, even the one that is trying to even sprout. I see, some people when you're walking on the road, you can just step on that little sprout without knowing, or even when you know what's this and you just step on it and all of that. We have to be intentional. Really, when you're passing across a message, you just have to be intentional. When it has to be, especially when you know it's beneficial to you as an individual and of course the environment and the society in general. So intentionality is very, very important. So planting a tree, people might wonder, what's so special about it? You will be shocked what it could curb in the nearest future. The kind of thing that it can curb. And it's very important that we know schools, children in schools need to know why it's very important for trees to be around. Because of course we know trees, we do a lot when it comes to trees, when it comes to our books, when it comes to tables and all that. human beings, we do a lot when it comes to manufacturing with that, but we actually need trees as individuals to actually survive due to air and all of that. So I think we need to be intentional. The awareness needs to be done, and we need to understand that climate change, global warming is very, very important, and it has come to stay. It's not going away anytime soon.
So the phenomenon is here to stay. Well, let's just deal with it individually and collectively. We'll take a break at this point, everyone. The rest of the program returns shortly. You do stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road.
Alright, you're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, well, you have missed a lot on Global Morning this beautiful Tuesday morning, and I'm here, and I do not understand why Mr. Uyagomofwegbe is teasing me at this point, you know, calling the word producer. I know, calm down.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Maybe it's in the spirit of the Ido Kabir.
I'm excited. Goodness, there's going to be a lot of rams.
I've laid one ambush. You know, the other time, the excuse was more Salah. My friends and colleagues said it was more Salah, and they made a promise. They thought it was going to be a long time, but here is upon us, so the fingers are crossed.
Exactly.
The conversation about Shadow Ram is on.
It's on. And of course, I know my dad is actually watching, so hi to Alhaji GM Mohammed Ibrahim, where, you know, Salah, you know how it is. So he knows how he's supposed to give us the Salah Ram and all of that. But at the same time, for as much as we're celebrating, it's a time to show love with neighbors and friends. You know, growing up back in the day, you know, when it's Salah, everyone is happy, everyone is excited, because our Christian faithfuls, like our neighbors, how dare you cook when our Muslim faithfuls are cooking, so you don't have to...
In fact, you're going to have a challenge with how do I eat the food, do I have enough teeth for the meat, you know, things like that.
Exactly. But at the same time now, where we are now in Nigeria, of course, you know, the economy, a lot of hike when it comes to food price, a lot of people cannot know that balance when you're talking about school fees, now we're talking about clothing, we're talking about a lot of things, and the money that you earn cannot actually fit into this portion. Just calm down and take a deep breath. Of course, I always tell people, especially when my program, when I was on radio, I did a program, I said, come, you have to calm down. There's some clothing for your children that they are still new, that you can actually use again. Kids don't even bother about that. Just give them nice food and they're fine, and explain to them. You don't have to go break a bank. You don't have to go a lot of people might just go out to borrow just to please a lot of individuals because you want to show or whatever. Please, even God is happy with you when you just celebrate it the best way you can with the little you have, and you share with your neighbors, and you are good to go. Just be happy and hopeful that you're alive. That's the most important thing. As long as you're alive. And there are other ways and other measures to make Salah amazing. With the little that you have, just, you know, rejuvenate, like with the beef, you can just get, to make it fancy, get, like I'm a foodie, for everyone
of course,
that knows.
no apologies.
No apologies. Get the sticks and then just make it, make it into a different recipe. You can make the tuwo. It's normally you make the ogbono soup. You can add vegetables to it just to give it a different pop and all of that. But the most important thing is allow your family and friends to be all around you. There's local drinks like the zobo, kununzaki, my best, and you can actually do that.
So you have affordable options that are healthy.
That are healthy, exactly. So you don't need to break a bank because it's Salah and you want to please everyone. People understand that, of course, it's not what it used to be. But at the same time, for as much as you marry in food, remember those who are the less privileged. It's very important that you understand that there are some people out there who you're lucky. You might say to yourself, oh, I can only afford 2 square meals a day. There are some that cannot even afford any a day. They take water and they go to bed. So remember all of these individuals. Time to show love and care at the same time. The little you have, just give and show care. Very important.
Well, we can't take generosity away from all of this.
No, we cannot.
Of course, whatever it is. It's not so much about the volume of money.
No,
it's not the market for shopping.
Exactly.
It's about, first of all, understanding the significance of the commemoration itself. I think that's a very brilliant way to start. And again, it makes us cycle back to that report put together by business correspondent Samuel Odi, where he was talking to people at the market, both vendors and shoppers and things like that. You can tell that people are not able to buy much these days because purchasing power has dropped very significantly. But you see, it's just a fleeting moment.
Yes, it is.
And this is not something that's going to be here forever. Do the best you can. There's no need to compare yourself with your neighbor.
No, please.
Don't look at the round size of your neighbor and compare with yours, or maybe you can't even afford one and things like that. You just understand the significance of the festivity, the commemoration, and then, of course, like Juma rightly said, just celebrate with family around you.
Exactly.
I think that's the essence of it.
That's the essence. And of course, if you look around Abuja now, look at the roads are practically, they look a bit deserted. A lot of people are traveling. A lot of people are traveling when it comes to the festivities. It's a time to bond with family and friends, people you've not seen in a very long time. A friend of mine in the US says they're actually coming home. You know, this is a very serious thing to bond with family, loved ones, and friends. So at the same time, as you marry, as you bond with family and friends, please be very careful, because of the security and all of that, and in issues that are ongoing at this point. But at the same time, it's a time to love, show care, show support, and please, Salaram, if you can. Well, no big deal, no pressure.
Let's end it from where we started. Salaram. All right, away from Salah now, President Bola Tinubu has been under the microscope for a while. Not just him, but his government. It's been 2 years, and questions are now being asked. What exactly has this government done differently, given where we are coming from, particularly in light of the Renewed Hope agenda, which the president, we know for sure, holds dear to his heart, because that has become more like the blueprint guiding this government through all of its developmental projects. We're saying the ministers, all of them come out one at a time to also reel out their own achievements so far. And Nigerians are saying we need to see more done in this regard. But we're going to take a break. When we return, I want to look at quickly what are the specific areas where we can say measurable, commendable, significant impact has been made that Nigeria can attest to. All of that and more after this break. Please stay with us. Two years still feels like yesterday, especially coming from 2022 when the campaign and the electioneering had just begun, and then going into 2023 was election time. But all through that season, candidate of the APC, then now the president of the country, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, always put the Renewed Hope agenda in front of every conversation he had. Today is 2 years. We call it midterm. So there's no better time to step on our brakes for a second and ask ourselves what exactly has been achieved so far. We're seeing ministers come out to talk about reforms in different areas. We're even seeing the CBN government talk about reforms in terms of fiscal policy, monetary policy.
Yes.
And before now, just while he was inaugurating ministers in 2023, the president did make clear without missing words that, look, we are going to set up some sort of mechanism in form of key performance indicators, some KPIs, to be able to rate and assess, performance, right? And for those ministers and other aides whose performance we deem below expectation, in the words of the president, will have to leave us.
Yes, exactly.
We've seen some leave. We've seen some moved from one ministry to another by way of reshuffling. Some who were substantive ministers, or if you like, senior ministers, are now ministers of state, or if you like, junior ministers, and all of that. I mean, you are a Nigerian. You have also followed the last 2 years of the president. What are you hearing?
Well, first of all, what I've heard a lot when it comes to this fiscal administration, now 2 years, talking about the scorecard. It now shows that those in various ministries, parastatals, have to be upright. They have to sit up, because reshufflement can come anytime. If you do not meet expectations, you have to, quote and unquote, in the voice of the president, you have to leave us. So it shows that you have to perform. Once you're in office, you have to perform, though not easy. We've seen a lot that happens. Someone says, Juma, if I am to rate this present administration, I will give 40%, because they are not there yet. For as much as the Renewed Hope agenda has brought a lot of succor to a lot of households, to a lot of individuals, but at the same time did not benefit individuals, it should, because some will tell you they are in need when it comes to palliatives and all of that should be given to these various households.
The basics of life.
The basics of life, which is important. But at the same time, a lot of people will tell you, yes, people have benefited, but at the same time, a lot of people have not. So they need to be they need to be a creation of that balance. It's very important. So as much as we hear of the student loan that is, you know, there are a lot of people that drop out of school because they cannot afford to pay their fees. But with this student loan, though, of course, we know a lot's happening around it, which I do not want to mention at this point. But for that initiative alone, has
first of its kind.
The first of its kind, yes, the first of its kind, that initiative alone has brought great, that rest for a lot of families who want their kids to go to school, who cannot afford it halfway through, but at least with this students' loan. But of course, there's lots of, it's very political when it comes to a lot of individuals who hold on to. And now I read somewhere that the student loan should be given to the beneficiaries directly, which I think is the best, which is better.
Not through the institution.
No, because a lot of things are happening when it comes to that particular arena. So at the same time, we see the Renewed Hope agenda doing a lot, and but at the same time, it needs to do more in the areas areas of unemployment. They need to be more done. In the areas of the hiking tariff, more needs to be done. Let's talk about transportation. CNG yesterday, I read that the CNG, most of the buses and most of the parts are being packed in the lot. And of course, we know, before we know it, it will be abandoned there. So a lot needs to be done.
They will start from scratch.
That's the part I do not like. When the CNG aspect came up about reduction of you won't have to stress more when it comes to fuel, at least the transportation is more affordable, the conversion, I mentioned something. I said, is this sustainable? That's the question I always ask. If it is, fine and good, but now we can see that there's a lot of loopholes when it comes to this particular issue. It's cars. Go to some places, you see lots of cars lined up just to get this particular commodity, which is a bit scarce. And it's unfortunate that beautiful idea, sustaining it is major a problem. Individuals around it. My guest said something yesterday very vital. He said, Juma, for as much as all these ideas are amazing, they are wonderful, but because individuals want to benefit from it, they try as much as possible not to make it work. And if you look at it,
it pays their sufficient trust to leave it grounded.
Of course. Look at war. We've been on this issue. I'm sorry, I have to deviate because we're talking about this now. 14 years, Boko Haram. We're still talking about this issue because you know that it benefits some individuals' interest at the detriment of lives.
So for such individuals, the longer it spans, the better.
Of course, they're banked. It's way to the bank. So, but it's just unfortunate. That is why, for as much as 40% of 100, which is, I know it's not average yet because we still have a long way to go. See, so when there is a difference is when when the common man goes to the market, when he sees a difference, when he understands, not the numbers, not the figures. When he or she sees a difference, when I go to the marketplace and I can afford something I used to buy at the rate of 20,000 and I see it at 5,000, oh my goodness, that's an impact. I can actually, for those that go go into commercial buses and I can afford, okay, I can now pay 150 for what I used to pay 400. Oh my goodness. That's when the individuals understand that there is something happening when it comes to change.
Right.
But when you tell me figures, when you tell me, okay, why when it comes to fuel, removal of fuel subsidy has done this for our debt, we do not, most people do not do this. You're just speaking grammar. We do not understand. I want to feel the
and
impact.
doesn't say, well, you say you've paid 8 trillion to IMF as part of Nigerian debt profile.
Really?
And then you're applying again, you're asking the Senate to approve for you to borrow another $24.1 billion.
Like really?
Which is something in the neighborhood of, say, 40 trillion.
Exactly. And you wonder, with all of this, where are we heading to? And people still find it hard to live. When I mean live, when it comes to affordability, when it comes to food.
Right.
Like I told, there's some households back in the day could afford 3 square meals, even 4 square meals a day. Now they cannot. Like I mentioned, on Global Money, we've mentioned, whilst I told you, some people actually, now their kids do not go to school every day. It's now 3 times in a week because
you have to cut back.
They have to cut back because of the high rise in transportation.
Right.
Individuals cannot even go to the hospital, one, because they cannot afford the drugs. They prefer to boycott a lot of things and self-medicate, which is detriment to their health. A lot of things. For as much as it's a skill, but at the same time, we need to have a balance. I am not saying the administration is, this present administration is doing their best, but it's just, I think some figureheads there there needs to be an adjustment. Very important for everyone to just move smooth still. But amazing, so far, amazing initiatives when it comes to
I just want to react quickly before we take a break now, come right up on the program, to talk about real quick, the NEL fund thing, the student loan fund,
exactly.
right? I mean, I can tell very well that it's still in the, infancy stage,
yeah, it's
right?
a pipeline, I would say.
It's basically still being experimented with, for whatever it's worth, right? But like you said, it's a laudable initiative.
An amazing one.
Yes, first of its kind in this country.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
However, those who were accused of some sharp practices within the, if you like, the chain of remittance of loans or disbursements, if you like,
yes,
all right, must be held to account by
must,
That's number one. Number two, this proposition that the disbursement should be made directly to the beneficiary students as against to respective institutions,
it's very important,
must be critically considered, so that at the end of the day we don't have middlemen, as it were. Before now, I mean, we don't need to have a situation where I have to call Juma to say, sorry, does your uncle still work in? No, we don't need that.
No
middlemen. I should be able to go straight, because there's a reason
right documentation.
Student
the right documentation.
Allow the beneficiary student, the prospective beneficiaries, go through the meals, and let them do, like you said, the right documentation.
Very important.
And then let disbursement be made directly to them.
And then just to add, and then for as much as I love the idea that it should be, the beneficiary should be the ones to, it should be directly to the beneficiaries. And at the same time, proper documentation, and at the same time, a monitoring committee to monitor if really, because some students can be very funny.
Quality assurance.
Oh my God. Quality assurance is very, very important. So, but that is the best move in order for that free flow. It's very important. We won't have issues once it's directed to the beneficiaries.
Very true.
So this is the part where you thank me for being on Global Morning.
Words for us to say thank you to you. You've been an asset on the show.
You are most welcome. It's great to be here.
All right, we're going to let Jumaya Manson off now. Queen Agaba in a beat, and I will be back here to put the icing on the cake for you.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
Beautiful right there. Many thanks for staying with us on Global Morning, and many thanks to Jumai Manson for, bringing in her contribution to, the topic around the environment as regards World Environment Day, and down to looking at critical issues around President Tinubu's second term in office, and then what's generally happening in the education sector as well. Thank you for your time. She says we owe her a bottle of Coke after the program.
Well, hopefully we will have to need Senate approval to get a loan for that purchase.
Of course. It's a bottle of Coke. Right. What do you expect? Well, this is where we will be drawing the curtains on Global Morning today. It's been an interesting ride from the newspaper review to the different discussions and the different segments that we've had today, social buzz, and Samuel Odi bringing in sports and telling us about World Cycling Day, down to Kike Lomo Okere with all that's happening in the business world. It's been an interesting ride, and we're sure to bring you Global Morning again tomorrow.
That's right.
From myself, Queen Agaba,
I'm Uyi Agmofugbe, saying a big thank you to you for watching.
Have an amazing day ahead. Bye.
Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take